Now, in a conclusion for materials in terms of tiling and the UVW Map modifier, I've created a chamfer box with some cylinders. You can go under here and look at the word chamfer cylinder. Length, width, and height segments 2, 2, and 2, and that just gives me a little bit of mesh to work with here. Then I went in and applied a noise modifier from my modify list, and I put a strength of 25 in the X, Y, and Z. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rock. Now we could actually add a little bit more noise here to give it. Then we could put a smooth on it too. But to get my point across here, I'm going to go out and navigate out to a folder and find myself a picture of some rocks. Okay. Now I can go back out here and in my maps folder that we've been saving to the desktop, I can go to stones. And for instance, I will grab this one here. Okay. So I take that material, I drag it over to the object, and I make it visible. Now, if you'll notice, as soon as I do a render here, it's really messed up the box. Okay, it doesn't really look like dirt or sand or pretty much anything. It doesn't look like a rock. That's because it requires me to apply a UVW map property to it. So with the object selected, I go down, find my UV map. And notice automatically under planar, it actually seems to try to compensate for the image. Now, it looks good on the face, but because it's trying to do it planar, it's stretching it out to fit on the box. Not really what we're looking for. I can go to cylindrical. Cylindrical can be used for cylindrical items, of course. We do a render. Again, it seems to do an okay job around the, if this was a cylinder, but at the cap, it's really trashed it. Spherical, we're starting to get somewhere. If you notice, it's trying to wrap this thing around a ball. And again, we're just coming up with a couple areas because this thing is not perfectly round. This is where we get into shrink wrap. And this may be one of the best ones that we can work with here. In fact, it still has a little bit of ugliness going on there as well. So you may have, depending on what type of rock you're making, and then we can tile it again. We can go in and add 3, 3, and 3, and that's going to give it a little bit more fine-tuned detail there. All right, to actually appear like a rock. And depending on what angle you want to see this rock from, you're going to see these lines in the mapping. So you want to keep that in mind as well. The other thing we can do is hit this fit button. Fit will expand it bigger to the model, as well as change the alignment. By changing the alignment, that's going to go ahead and give us a different view, and it actually looks pretty good. Now the only other thing I would do to make this better is to go out to my submenu, add a bump to it. Go ahead and find the exact same bump, and there's a lot of white in there. You could even add like travertine maybe, where it throws in a little bit of a unproportionate. Okay, so then we go to 100%, we do a render, and now look how it's put all those cracks and crevices in there, and it looks a lot more like a rock. Okay, so that concludes UVW mapping, as well as a little bit of tiling, and I hope that that'll help you out with some of the objects in your scene.